Hey y'all, Rick Sky here, back again from the Appalachian Ocean. Now, although I refuse to talk politics on this channel, I have been bombarded with questions surrounding the 2024 election in the United States of America. And without talking about candidate A or candidate B, candidate Alpha or candidate Bravo, I'm just going to tell you what I think. So you've asked. I'm not part of a multi-channel network. I can say whatever I want to. Nobody's telling me what to say. So this is the bottom line, and I'm going to make it very simple, I hope. So number one, social media, traditional print media, television media, block it all out. Think about this. Heading into that, you're getting in that vehicle, you driving, you're like, man, I'm going to go vote. Assuming you're allowed to vote in the United States of America, you're feeling good, you're driving to that poll, you're getting ready to cast your vote. This is what I care about. And y'all ask. This is not a political video, but I'll respond hopefully in a very simplistic fashion. I look at the price of bacon. I look at the price of bologna. I look at interest rates. I look at freedom. And one thing that trumps, not mentioning one of the candidates' names, trumps means it's greater than. One thing that trumps all is freedom. And if we're not careful as a country, the United States of America that we once knew may cease to exist. The Constitution is super important. And if there are people that are trying to circumvent the Constitution, our constitutional rights, freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, the list goes on. If there are people that are trying to conveniently wordcraft and blah blah blah, you know, most anything in this world, and this isn't the Constitution, this isn't pertaining only to the Constitution, but most anything that is quote unquote finalized is potentially never finalized, because due to lawyers, due to, you know, people that can wordcraft things, blah 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 blah, there's often ways for people to take something that should have been forever out of the picture. Great example. Have you ever purchased a vehicle and that vehicle claimed to have free oil changes for life? Well, you go and get a couple of oil changes and wow, it was free. You go back a few months later or the next year or whatever to continue to get the free oil changes, and they say, we're sorry sir, but we don't offer those anymore. Why not? When I bought the vehicle, I was promised in writing free oil changes for life. And the reality is that they circumvented it. So the previous owner of the dealership, they sold through all the legal, you know, read the fine print, blah, blah, blah. Those oil changes were no longer available because they did away with it by change of ownership. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a politician. But that was my read as to why they did away with it. So me being the customer, and not that getting free oil changes for life made my purchase decision. You know, it's not like, well, I'd buy this other truck, but I bought this one because it had free oil changes for life. No, it didn't prompt me to purchase that truck, but it incentivized it. Another example. Have you ever had a, let's say, cell phone plan? I'm not going to mention company names. But you had a cell phone plan and there were perks. Well, if you get our cell phone, you'll get, you know, HBO Max streaming, blah, 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 or whatever, you know, HBO Max or whatever, doesn't matter. But the fact that if I went with this cell phone provider, wow, you know, I'm going to get I don't watch a lot of TV. I think it's a waste of time. It's a waste of mental energy. But it is nice to have it to be able to relax at times. But that was an incentive. It was like, okay, well, I could go with cell phone provider A or cell phone provider B, But with this, I actually get a streaming service, and it was a top tier. I mean, it was Ultra HD. I was like, wow, you know, this is kind of a value add. Well, how did that get messed up? They started jacking up the cell phone plan rates a few years later, and then, without clearly communicating it, when you changed your plan because they jacked up the rate of the previous plan that included the streaming service, what they didn't tell you is that when you got out of the plan, you no longer had the free streaming service. So now you're stuck paying a greater monthly bill for the cell phone service, and you're no longer getting that streaming service that was something you enjoyed. Get more and pay less. And these examples, you know, and don't mess with the Constitution. Don't mess with one's constitutional rights, because that is a document that a lot of these politicians with ill intent would love to try to disassemble, and it's all about control. The government wants more control. So without talking about candidate A, candidate B, you know, you see it all. I refuse to flip on the news because the news makes me furious. And I don't care which network it is, it just makes me furious. But what I will say, heading into those polls, and yes, if you're able to vote, get your tail out there and vote, because this could potentially be the most important election ever. And I'm going all the way back to who was it? George Washington, the first president of the United States. I don't know. I'm not a history buff. I think it was. But this could be the most important election ever. That's how much gravity this election holds. Because if we, as people that are eligible to vote in the United States of America, if we don't cast our votes correctly, it could become a situation where, okay, now we got more government control. And so you can say it two ways. You can say more government control, or you can say it, see, that's the positive way to say, oh, more government control, that sounds good. The reality is personal rights stripped away. Because as my rights and your rights are stripped away, the government has more control. The government having more control is not a positive. It's an extreme negative. Because if and when they grab and obtain more control, we as individuals have less freedoms. And the United States of America is still, it still is, and should remain a free country. And people that have different opinions, and again, this is not a video where I'm saying candidate A versus candidate B, but this is what matters. It's not what people say on TV. It's not what candidate A or candidate B is wearing. It's not the personality of candidate A or candidate B. It is voting to retain freedom. Because if we as voters don't make this happen, our freedoms could be ripped away. And it's not a situation like, oh, well, we took that away, we're going to give it back next year. No, no, no. Often, once things are taken away, they never are given back, and it's often a slippery slope. Okay, well, we've done this, now we're going to take that away, we're going to take that away, we're going to take that away. And before we know it, living in this once great country, and it's still good, it's in shambles right now, but living in this once great country will no longer be an option. Because, I mean, well, living in the country would be an option, but living in a country that's still great would not be an option, because at that point it would have been taken over by the government to the degree to where we have minimal freedom. And freedom is so important because, number one, I like to make my own decisions. And that's, okay, what are my food choices? What am I going to eat? What am I going to drink? What type of deodorant am I going to use? What type of suntan lotion am I going to use? my tooth hurts. Do I need to go and get all my teeth pulled out, or do I choose to just, put on some sort of ointment because that's all that I need? I don't need the government dictating my personal health choices. I don't need the government dictating my food choices. And I definitely don't need the government stripping away my constitutional rights. So I'll end it there. Y'all asked for my opinion. I hope I stated it well. And no, I did not mention either candidate. Oh, you bet, yeah, man, you said Trump. No, I said Trumps, as in greater than. I didn't say the president, the candidate's name, and I didn't say the other candidate's name. Trumps, Trumps, is a term. Google it. Thanks for your viewership. Be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to vote. It's super important in 2024. Y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, IRIX Guy here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please be sure to subscribe to my channel, and when you do, ring that bell icon to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.